Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. I'm Ben Hall. Very good show tonight. We're talking all about Metro schools. Any questions you may have about Metro schools, give us a call. We are very happy to have with us the Director of Schools, Dr. Jesse Register. Dr. Register, thank you for being with us.
It's good to be here again.
Coming on one-on-one, appreciate the opportunity to talk about where things are going, and there's much to discuss. You've been a busy man. One thing, your contract is up. You are leaving in June. So in this time, what are your goals between now and June? And I also want to talk about where things are going as far as looking for a new director and what may happen there. But what are your goals in this period you have left?
Well, what I'd really like to do, Ben, is just wrap everything up. But that never happens. There are always loose ends. But there are a few things that I think are really important to finish and finish well, and hopefully to get the school system and the direction of the system in a place where there's not a lot of lost time when there's a transition in leadership. And two or three things are really important. One that's occupied so much of the time over the fall, and that's the priority schools plans and doing that. And I hope, and of course those are some of those are immediate short-term plans, but some of the most important part of that work is longer term. But I hope we can get the plan in place so that there's not a lot of lag time or delay in being able to deal with those schools that are, by the state standards, considered low performing. Let's don't let time go by. We don't need to lose time. There is an urgency to that issue. Another area of real interest of mine is the expansion of our early childhood program. And that's the pre-K program, and a great win for us to get a $33 million grant to expand pre-K from the U.S. Department of Education through the state. And a lot of people to thank for that. The governor was very, very pleased to apply for the grant for Memphis and Nashville. And and the state had decided not to go for that grant on a statewide basis, and so we partnered with Shelby County and the commissioner, former commissioner, and the governor supported that effort for us, and we got it. And what a great boon for Davidson County. That's a $33 million grant that'll help us grow quality pre-K program and get us much further down the road towards serving every 4-year-old child that needs it.
Again, heard that President Obama came here.
Yes.
And discussed that and other things, but he came here to Nashville. Came
here to Nashville, and after the State of the Union last year, it's about a year ago now, first, and then he was here to talk about high school reform and high schools that work, and college to career, and the importance of that. And our academies of Nashville were really the reason that he came here, because our high school work is, in my opinion, second to none in the country on a systemic basis, system-wide basis. Our high schools are terrific here, and we've made so much progress, and I'm so proud of them. But also the early childhood effort, and he talked about that then. Technology, our technology plan, use of technology to differentiate instruction in classrooms was something that he highlighted in that State of the Union last year. And then, of course, most recently, an indirect is the change in immigration laws and what he's proposing to do for immigrants now. That's very important to our community because we're so diverse, and we have a very large immigrant population. Good people, good children. I love them, and they're a big part of our student population, and they're part of our schools. And for him to recognize Nashville as a leader in that effort, I think is very important too. So I was going, maybe one or two other things on my agenda.
Sure, as far as your priorities in this period that remains.
Sure. So we're entering a budget season now. and the budget's very important. The operating budget this year, of course, we want to leave it in good shape. And I've got to commend Mayor Dean and the Metro Council for having been very supportive of our budget through tough times when I first came, through an economic downturn and through the relative prosperity that we've had here. We've fared very well in terms of having funds to operate our schools and to advance programs. And we don't have everything we need, but good progress. And I hope to have a good budget year this year. I look forward to having conversations with Metro Council and with Mayor Dean on that. And then some other I guess key plans. One is our strategic plan, Education 2018. Very, very broad plan. Board of Education adopted it unanimously almost 2 years ago now. It's a 5-year plan, and there are components of that that are really important to advance the diversity plan for our school system. It's unique. You know, we've done national presentations on our approach to supporting our diverse student population and our diverse community, and moving that forward is really important to me. And corollary to that is working with our English learner students. You know, we still have about 30% of all the English learners in the state of Tennessee here in MNPS, and 135 languages. That number varies every month. So someone told me yesterday, so well, I heard you say 140. Well, 3 months ago it was 140. This month it's 135. It goes up and down a little bit, but developing programs so that our children coming from other countries have an opportunity to learn English and to become academically successful. So trying to get those in a good place before June 30th is really important to me.
That's a lot. And now there are some who say that the board should wait to pick a new director of schools until after a new mayor is elected. That will happen a few months after your contract is up in June. Would you, have they discussed with you, has anyone discussed with you staying on as an interim? Would you be willing to stay on as an interim? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, I'm not willing to stay on. I don't consider myself a placeholder, and so I feel like it's the right time for me to leave now. There is an opportunity for the board. One of the most important thing a school board does is select a new leader. New superintendent, new director of schools, and I think there's a real opportunity for them to come together in that process, to come together as a whole, to develop common vision, and I certainly and sincerely hope that happens with our Board of Education. I am not interested in staying for a short period of time. I feel like I've made some good progress here. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of the school system, really, over the last 6 years. I just passed my 6th anniversary. It'll be 6.5 years this summer, and that's why I announced in September, give the school board almost a whole year to go through a process and make a selection for a new director.
Do you think a new director can be in place in June?
That's very quick, given where the board is now. They should select a search firm, and I know that Dr. Gentry, chair of the board, is working with the board to look at interviewing and selecting a search firm now, and then to advertise. But generally, I think for a district like this, it's a 6 months process at best, and then sometimes it runs a little bit longer.
So what happens if? Is there an interim? Is there any plan in place? Have you heard of a plan? You're going to leave, and they maybe haven't picked the next person yet. What happens?
Well, the last time when Dr. Garcia left, there was an interim. Chris Henson was interim for, I guess, a little over a year through the process, and we have very competent people on our staff who could step in and fill that role very effectively now, more than one. So I would expect an in-house person to be interim to keep things going, to maintain the programs that are going, and get them through to the time when they can select and bring on board a new superintendent.
And when you said you hope the board can come together in this important decision, the most important decision that a board will make, that also indicates the board hadn't always been together. That's no secret. And so let's say you get a call from the person who has been offered the job, or candidates who are considering the job, and they say, what about that school board there? What do you say?
So the school board in Davidson County is diverse. There are 9 people. They represent different parts of the community, and they don't all have the same opinion. I would hope that they would come together with a common set of goals and a common focus, even if they have differences of opinion about issues, and to work together effectively to come to consensus, or to at least agree on a pathway. And I think this superintendent search is an opportunity for them to do that. So I certainly hope they will. Individually, they're smart people on the board. The differences of opinion are there, and you should always expect that in an elected board in a city like this, in a county like this.
Now, what advice would you have for the next person to take this job?
Well, to take some time to look at how things are working now, to get to meet a lot of people, to talk to a lot of people, and to visit schools and see what's going on, and then develop his or her own opinion about where things ought to go. I think a board and the community needs to weigh in on whether we have a right direction, and also what needs to change, or what else needs to happen. I know there's been a little bit of talk by the Public Education Foundation here. Shannon Hunt, who's president of that foundation, has talked about a sort of a visioning process, or looking to the future. It's not really, I don't consider it in competition with our strategic plan, Education 2018, but it is an important conversation in this community to come to some common understanding about where we want to go in public education in this community. That conversation needs to happen. It doesn't need to be divisive. I think all of us can agree we want good schools and good teachers for all of our children, and coming together with some common goals there to achieve that, I think, is very important. And so hopefully that'll happen.
And my last thing before we go, what's been so divisive is that charter school issue. I guess, and there are probably others, but that's one of them. And do you think the board can come together, and perhaps this new superintendent, how do you bridge that gap? I mean, what do you do there? Well, there's such diverse, opposing opinions. What do you think?
Well, I gave a speech last summer that I hoped would be healing, or hopefully bring the sides together and eliminate some of the animosity, and maybe it worked in some quarters, and then in others it seems to not have worked. So I think there needs to be a civil conversation, and people on both sides of that issue need to come together. It's destructive, and it doesn't need to be destructive. It's not good for our schools. It's not good for our children, so we're in a very different place than when I came here. And some of the critics say we have too many charter schools now. I think we have charter schools that are very good. I think we do have to consider how we add value with additional schools added in this community. We need some common understanding about what adds value to quality of public education, not just a competition, not just adding schools for the sake of adding schools, but adding schools where they can make a difference. And we'll continue to have trouble with that until there's a better and a more civil conversation about it. On both sides. Both sides.
All right, we have to take a break. If you want to join in, there's the number 737 plus 737 7587. Hold on the line if you were there. We'll get to your call right after this.